Okay, so well, I would like to welcome everyone officially to this great webinar. Well, you chose the topic, and it's escape rooms advanced, a very interesting topic, and we have a very interesting well speaker today, a very expert speaker. It's our lovely ambassador Julia Morris. Julia is actually from Germany, from Berlin, just like me, but she moved quite a long time ago already, to the UK, and is now working there as a teacher. And I think Julia knows very well how important it is to have something, well, interactive, something very motivational, something what is moving, what is interesting for the students, for the pupils. And well, Julia will show today some examples, show how she's doing them. And well, as you will have the recording, you can always practice afterwards. You can stop and, well, see it over and over again. So as we said, after each topic, we will make like a little break, and Julia will answer all your questions. So well, don't be shy. Post your questions in the chat, and well, Marie and I will try to answer them as much as we can during during the presentation of Julia. But like some technical things, we will leave it for Julia to answer. And I think that's it. Well, where Julia is, by the way, not just an expert, but well, she's a super expert. She even she even wrote a book. Like, for me, this is just wow. She wrote a book about escape rooms. You can find it in Amazon. The name is Escape Rooms in Education. If you're interested, we will send you afterwards the link. So if you want to deep dive, like, very deep into this topic of escape rooms, then you can have a look at her book. So from my side, that's everything. I will give the microphone to Julia and wish everyone a lovely webinar.
Okay, well, if you look in a chat now, I've just posted the link to the presentation that I'm going to use, and all the other bits that I'm going to show, they're all linked to that one presentation. So I would recommend maybe just saving that link somewhere, and then you can click reuse this presentation, and then you can see how I did it all, and you can get all the links there. But we can share it again later as well. Okay, let's get started then. So I need to just share my screen. Here we go. And I need the sound as well. Sorry. See if I can get the sound on. Share sound. There we go. Okay, good. So yes, I was planning to do this webinar, and I was hoping I could do something for beginners and just show how to do the easy stuff on Genially, but unfortunately everyone voted for advanced escape room, so now I have to do the advanced stuff. I think I found a few more things that we haven't mentioned before. Okay, so here's a little overview what I'm going to do. So a little intro. I'm also going to announce the winners of our competition, and then I'm going to look at how I think you need to plan an escape room, how to create a bit of immersion. So these 2 points are not necessarily Genially specific, but I thought they would be quite good to mention because we haven't really mentioned them in any of our other webinars. And then I'm going to talk about the structure, and I'm going to show you 2 templates which you can use to make your online escape room, which is Takit and Breakout. And I'm going to walk you through how to use them. And then some more puzzle ideas. I'm not quite sure. I think I've got quite a lot in here. So, but I'll play it by ear and see how far we get. And then if we don't manage to cover everything, at least you can look at the things in the presentation if you want to. Okay, so let's start with the introduction. Well, the other Julia has already given me a little introduction. So I'm a German teacher in England, and I'm a UK Genially ambassador. So if you use this presentation, you can find my Genially profile. I don't know if you've all seen it, that now on Genially you can have your page where all your presentations are kind of collected for everybody else. And so I'm also a Microsoft trainer. And as Julia said, I've written this book, and there's also the link to it on Amazon. Okay, good. Then let's start with our competition. So Marie, who is also a Genially ambassador, and I and a few other ambassadors as well, were running the Teaching with Genially Facebook group. and we did a competition when we had 1,000 members, but by now we've already got 2,600, I think. So we got quite a lot more since then. So the task was for people to make a little presentation in Genially, obviously, kind of advertising our group and what's good about it. And so we've chosen the top 3 who all win a pro account for Genially. So let's do the reveal. And we've got Brigitte, Caroline, and Kate. So well done to those. If you could send Marie your email addresses, but it needs to be the ones that you use on your Genially account, so we can then upgrade it to a pro account. That would be great. Okay, good. Then we have already done a few webinars. So Marie and I did the Gamify Your Classroom webinar. So Marie did the first one on her own, and then we did part 2 together. So if you want to check them out, the links are in there as well. So the first one is, especially if you haven't really used Genially before, or if you haven't used or haven't made an escape room in Genially, I would definitely recommend starting with that one. And then I've also made another little video which has some of the same ideas, but also some stuff about design and so on. So you can have a look at those. But I try to, in this webinar, not to repeat too much of what we've already covered. So hopefully, even if you've seen the other 2 videos or the other 3 videos before, there should be new things. Good. Then today I'm going to talk a lot about these 3 things, and I just want to explain for people who don't know what's going on. So we've got Genially, obviously, which is the official website which we're using to create our digital escape room. You can do everything I show you with the free account. If you get a pro account, then you get a few more templates, you get a few more design tools, which can be quite useful, but you don't need a pro account to do most of those things. So you can get started with that. Then I'm also going to talk about Escape quite a lot. So they are a group of teachers from France, and they are super good at coding, and they've made extensions which you can use in Genially. So you can download their templates. They have little boxes on, which I'll show you later, which you add to your presentation. And then most of them you need to group with something like a text or a picture for it to appear or do certain things. So with their extension, you really get a lot more games that you can do, which you can't do with the kind of normal Genially version. And Marie and I have translated quite a lot of them into English. So on the next slide, you can find the link to all the translations. And for most of them, we've also made little introduction videos. And then there is kind of a newer group, which is called Sandbox Education. So they're kind of the Spanish version of Escape. So again, these are teachers who are really good at coding, and they just taken some of the Escape extensions and made them even better, or they've made some of their own extensions as well to just add even more games and more templates that you can use with Genially. So whenever I'm talking about Escape and Sandbox, all their extensions are free to download, and we have just translated them, really. Okay, so we've made this big presentation, which you can find in the link here, and it has lots and lots of these extensions. This is only the first half of it here, and if you click on any of them, you get the template and yeah, the videos. And I'll show you in a minute with one of them how to use it. And because I've got quite a lot of different things I want to talk about, I'm not going to go through exactly how you make all the games. So I might show a few games like a match-up game and so on, but not really show you how to make it, because some of them we've already done in the other webinars, and some of them you can just go to this presentation and watch the YouTube videos we've made. So what I've done, instead of explaining them all, I've put a little link on each slide where you can then find the explanation video, so that we get through a few more things. Okay, good. So let's get started with planning. So I think sometimes people ask, how do I get started with my escape rooms? How do I start planning it? How do I know how long it's going to take and how many activities I need and so on? the time question, I don't think anyone can answer because it just depends so much on your group, on the type of puzzles you have, and so on. But I wanted to go through a few things which I think you need to keep in mind. So first, I want to show what I think a good escape room should have in it. I don't say that I always include all these things in my escape rooms, but I think the perfect escape room would have these things, namely just like a real life escape room where people go and pay to do the room. It should definitely have an immersive story, so you should feel part of the action, like the decoration should match, the story should match, and the puzzle should match as well. So you shouldn't really have, I don't know, an ancient Egypt story where suddenly you need to use a mobile phone QR code. That doesn't quite work. So if you want to do that, you need to spin a story around it to explain why that makes sense, I think. Then the freedom to explore. So being able to do the tasks in any order, I think, just having that option just makes things so much more enjoyable, I think. And like in most computer games, people can choose their levels or where they want to go. They can choose their different skins and so on. And it just makes the players want to join in more. And yeah, about the freedom to explore, I'll show you later the breakout template, which allows the players to do the tasks in any order they want. There should be different types of locks. I mean, it's an escape room, so you want to escape or sometimes also break into things. So having number locks and letter locks and directional locks and so on, if you can, just makes it more fun. Then a time limit. I mean, the time limit is what makes it so great really for teaching, because we normally just have 45 minutes anyway, or 60 minutes for our lessons. So the fact that escape rooms always need a time limit actually is quite in our favor. But I think it's also good to always have a reason why there's a time limit. Like, oh, in an hour, the volcano will break out, and so you need to escape before that happens. Or in an hour, the criminal will board a plane and never be seen again, and so on. So try to spin it into the story, I think. Then teamwork is a really important part, and especially with digital escape rooms, is quite easily lost, I think. So I think it is worth putting some effort in the classroom in trying to get the groups to work together, which obviously if you're in remote teaching, that's even harder. But whenever you can, try to have less devices, maybe just one device per group, so they really have to work together. Because, for example, with my sixth form group, I did nearly the same escape room twice. And one time they were in the classroom and they had to do some paper puzzles as well, and they had to teamwork on it. And the second time they had the puzzles in remote learning and they just did it individually at home. And then I asked them which one they preferred. And I thought they liked the digital one because actually it looked better. It was kind of more modern version of it. But I actually preferred the other one just because they like the team working element. So I think it is quite important. And then in any good escape room, you would have searching and picking up items, trying to find items. And again, later I show you in the Takit extension how to kind of hide things in your Genially presentation. And then having both tasks and puzzles, and I come to that later, what the difference is. Okay, and then sorry, if I can show, so you see that I've been clicking here and then the next thing comes up. So this is an effect that is an extension, which is part of the Swiss Army knife. So if you download this presentation, you can then use this link there to find out how to do it. Okay, so the planning steps, if you make your first escape room, first, obviously you need to decide what is your topic, look at your at your textbook, what chapter are you working on, and then with that come up with a story that matches it. Well, I'll show you a few examples in a minute. Then you need to decide, are you going to do a digital escape room, a physical one, or a mixed one? And again, in a minute, I'll show you the difference. Only after you've got the story, I would say, you should then decide on the kind of smaller tasks that you have. Like, do you want your students to learn fractions and have, I don't know, different types of tasks on fractions, or do you want to mix in some subtraction as well, or whatever your subtopics are. Then are you going to set it up linear or non-linear? So do the students have to move through it in a certain order, or can they choose which order they do it in? And then you need to create your puzzles, and really important, do a play test. And I would recommend that you let someone else do the play testing. Ideally, obviously, a student, but if you can't do that, then maybe ask a colleague, because other people always kind of move around differently, even in a digital escape room. And I think they will find some maybe things that don't work, or that work differently from what you would expect. So always do the play test. Maybe even tell them, try to break this escape room, and then see if they can manage to do that or not. Okay, so then there was a survey amongst escape room enthusiasts, and here are the top 10 themes that they have chosen. So this is not necessary for educational rooms, but real escape rooms. But I think it's quite nice having this list and seeing what people prefer. And here's a slightly longer list. So this one is from Wikipedia, their most common escape room themes. So lots of things to make you think, because I think sometimes the problem is with educational escape rooms that teachers are so in this school world that they always try to do something like break out from the classroom or break out from the library or something. But actually, it's much more exciting for the kids if it's something completely different. And I think for most topics, you can find a theme that matches. So, I mean, if you teach science, for example, then a crime story is quite good, or a space story would match your puzzles probably quite well. Or if you're doing literature, then maybe you want to do more detective story or a magic story and so on. So just try to think a little bit outside the schoolroom, really. And because if the task in an escape room is rescue the teacher, well, I'm not so sure my students would spend much effort on trying to rescue me, or rescue the library. I don't think they care very much. So try to think of a story that will kind of pull them in. Okay, then the type of escape room, so physical versus digital. So obviously we're going to talk about Genially, so it's all going to be digital, but it's good to be aware that you could also have a mixed escape room. So meaning that you have some paper-based activities or some kind of room-based activities where the students actually run around the classroom and look under the table or look in a drawer and so on. Or they get an actual jigsaw puzzle that they have to put together with their hands. And then you would only use their devices, their computer, whatever, as the locks, basically. So they have to put in their answer there. And that's my preferred way of working, really, because as I said, it makes it a bit more real for the student, as encourages them more to do teamwork, because they actually see the jigsaw puzzle in front of them and they all want to join in. While if it's only digital, yes, it's easier because the students all just sit there on their own with their own device, and you don't need to worry about them fighting with their teammates or whatever. But it's also not quite as immersive, and yeah, that team element is missing. But on the other hand, it's free if you're doing it with Genially. While a physical escape room can be sometimes quite expensive if you need to buy actual locks and boxes and UV lights and so on. So and if you have quite a big group, it might be difficult for them to move around the classroom. So there are all these different constraints that you need to keep in mind. Yeah, so even with Genially, keep in mind you could just have on your page or on your slide a notice that says, now open envelope 4, and then in envelope 4, which is an actual envelope, they open it up and they have to put things together or find things, and then they put in the code into their Genially presentation to then get to the next slide. So you can have it mixed. Okay, and then the linear or non-linear setup, so do they have to answer first question before they get to the next one and then next one and so on? Or do they have a choice of answering the questions in different order? And as I said earlier, I think it's more motivating if they can do it in a different order, and they feel more that they are in control, really. But yeah, it depends how much control you as a teacher want to have. And if you have a linear setup, it's easier to see how far each group has come or each player has come and so on. So, and then make sure that everybody does every task in the order that you've chosen. So you could go from easy to hard. So you need to think about which way you want to do it. Okay, and then I thought it might be quite interesting to see how I actually do my planning. So I normally have a table like this when I first start planning a more complicated escape room. So first I would start with the topics. So really I would start with column 2 here. What do I actually want them to learn? And I mean, I'm a language teacher, so for me it's mainly kind of sets of vocab or grammar that I want them to revise. Then I make a separate list of all the puzzles I want to use. And I know you should always choose an activity that matches the topic. But to be honest, most of the time, I just want to try out this new puzzle I heard about. So I normally try to then fit it to one of the topics and try to think, oh, where could I use that? And then once I've matched them all up, I then start creating it. Maybe if you want to share with others, might be quite good to write down what resources you need, what the answers are, and also think about what type of task it is. So I don't really like it if they have to do 5 match-up tasks in a row. That's not so great. So it's good to have a mix of tasks and puzzles of different types of tasks, as I'll show you in a minute. And then keeping track of all the code numbers that they will find can also be quite useful, especially if they have to put them all together at the end. Okay, so now we come to task versus puzzle. But actually, maybe I'll do a little break in before. Were there any questions that I need to answer first?
Let's see.
No question, Julia.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Good. So hopefully now I actually get to the Genially part. So hopefully people still there. So the difference between tasks and puzzles. And I think many of the games that I see made with Genially, they're mainly just tasks. And I think it's good to have puzzles in there as well. So the difference is a task is, you know straight away what you need to do. It just takes a while to do. So for example, a multiple choice task. You know straight away you have to choose one of the options, or a match-up task. You know that you just have to match them up. So they're quite straightforward, while a puzzle would be one where you don't really know at first, what does this even mean? What is the task? What am I meant to do? So they can be a bit frustrating for students. So especially if you're playing with younger students or with students who are not so motivated maybe in your subject, they can be a bit more dangerous, that they give up easily because they're like, oh, I don't even know what I'm meant to do. What's going on? I don't want to do this. But on the other hand, if they then work it out, maybe in teamwork, it is just so much more satisfying because they will have that, light bulb moment. That's what I need to do. And then they can get on with it. So I'll show you what I mean. So here are some puzzle kind of tasks. So if you're using puzzles, you might need to think about having a hint system in place, or just giving them hints if you're in a classroom, so to stop them from getting too frustrated. So here's kind of a little puzzle. So first of all, they can move these things around. I need to find these 3 pieces of paper, and then they just get these cryptic clues here. If good is 1, what is friendly? So I need to work out that good in German is gut, and I need to put it next to 1 so they can move this up and down. So we've got good is there and 1 is there. So if good is 1, what is friendly? So they need to know that friendly is freundlich, so it's 19. So then they write down on their piece of paper, whatever, first code number is 19. And then they do the same with the next one. So easy is einfach here, so they need to move it around, and so on. And then they get 6 different code numbers here, which they then have to put into the log. Here's another example. So this is from like a UFO themed one, where they have to work out, well, first they have to translate these numbers, and then they have to work out that they're postcodes, and then they have to put them into Google Maps to find out what building or which town the postcode takes them to. I mean, this one is not too much of a puzzle because it gives them quite a lot of hints, but it's kind of for younger students, so they might give up otherwise. So they would need to put this number into Google, and then they get to the radar. So they need to work out where the UFO has landed. And this is just using one of the animated backgrounds that you can get with Genially. And as you can see, the words in front of a flash up, and they need to be quick and click the correct one when it flashes up to get to the next slide and the next task and so on. So the flashing effect is just done with an animation. So I've added an animation to the word, which is a continuous one, which is just, I think, I can't remember what it's called, but I think it's just called flashing as well. So it goes on and off. Okay, and then the typical kind of puzzle that you find in an escape room obviously are different codes. Let's see if you can work out what these mean. So we've got a pigpen cipher over here, which escape room experts will recognize straight away, but your students probably have never seen this before, so it might take them quite a while to work out that the first letter here is a H, because it's that shape here. The second one is a closed box, so it's the E here in the middle. This one has a dot, so it's the R in the corner here with the dot, and so on, and then they can work out the message. And there's a website where you can just write in your message, it will give you the code in pigpen. So it's quite easy to make, really. This one over here is a rebus, so they have to see that this is a face. So they need to put a T in front of face, but take away the A, and the R is replaced with an S, and then they get this, I think, as the first word, and so on. Can someone work out what the Japanese says? Let's see in the chat. Who's the fastest to say it in the chat? I might turn on my chat here. Yeah, someone's worked it out. Love the Japanese thing. Someone's worked out that it says you just need, yeah, because really all you need is to read it sideways. So it says you just need. So I tilt your head and you can read it. So it's actually fake Japanese, which is quite fun. So this is from the Scape website, so you can find it with this link here. Okay, so hopefully you understand now what I mean by a puzzle. So if I show you the tasks, so some examples of that. So jigsaw puzzle, obviously is a classic. This one here is made with a Scape extension called, well, can't pronounce it, but it's this one. So if you follow that link, it shows you how to make it. So this is a jigsaw puzzle on Genially, and if I put it all together, I then get this picture here, which obviously this could also be the link to the next page, which is great, because if I turn off these arrows to the side, the players can't progress to the next page until they've solved this jigsaw puzzle. Or here, this one is using the extension called Couise or Couise, or however you say it, where they have to find the right category. So obviously the words would be replaced. Let's say you're doing, I don't know, Harry Potter novels, then it would say Prisoner of Azkaban and Sorcerer's Stone or whatever, whichever you've got, and then the wrong ones would say other books. So then they can dig along here, just have the category, and when they get to the end, the stone disappears and they get a bit of coal for their Minecraft game. So hopefully, I mean, this one is nearly a puzzle, because first of all, they would need to work out what the category is. And if all these are replaced with the titles of books, they might be at first like, oh, these are books, what do I meant to do? But because it shows them that I have to start here, it gives them a hint that probably the category of the first one is what they need to follow along. So, and again, you can make this into a task if you tell them the category is Harry Potter books, or you can make it more into a puzzle by making them work it out themselves. Okay, and then here, again, a task. So this is using a cool website called Mal den Code, where you can create QR codes, which you have to color in first. And I've combined it with a pick-put, which means you take the color here and then you can color it in on Genially. And it actually works. If they then take a picture of it with their phone, it will then take them to the website. And in this case, they have to answer a multiple choice quiz first. And it will say, if they get the first answer right, it would say color in all the twos. And if they get the second one right, it would say color in all the fives, and so on. So they need to work out which of the numbers they need to color in to get the right pattern in the end. Okay, so that was my tasks and puzzles. Okay, any questions at the moment?
Well, I think everything is pretty clear. We have a lot of compliments. Monica is asking where she will find the recorded webinar. You will get it afterwards. We will send it via email, so don't worry about this.
Yeah, and I'll put the link on the Facebook group as well, and yeah, then you can find it there. Okay, I wanted to talk a little bit about immersion, which I said earlier, I think is one of the main things for escape rooms, really, that you feel part of the story, you get drawn in, you ideally even play a character in the story. And a few different things you can do. I mean, having an introduction story, I have to admit, I'm not very good at the introduction stories, but some people spend a lot of time and effort on them, which I think is great. So one little trick here is using the Tapu script extension from Scape, which makes the text appear bit by bit. The advantage of that is that you kind of know they have to read the text first, and you know how long it's going to take them, because you can see how long it takes for the text to appear, and only when the text is there, then the start button will come up. So they're kind of forced to read this before they can get started. And in Genially itself, you can find lots and lots of GIFs or GIFs, which just add a little fun to it as well. And then obviously music. I mean, we all know that from films, like the music is what draws you into the story and makes you excited. And there are some different ways of doing it. So you can play music straight in Genially if you've got the recording, so to speak. Or if you're in a classroom, you can just play it on your loudspeaker while the students are doing their escape room. And there are 3 different things I wanted to recommend to you. There is a YouTube channel which is called Old Stuff for All, which doesn't sound very tempting, but actually is quite cool, because if you look here, it has all these different categories. So it has music for let's see here, music for doing magic, for example. So if you have a magic themed escape room, that's the best thing to play in the background, because it will have all these music, all these songs that will go with it. Or music here, music for reading fantasy books, so lots of songs that give you a fantasy vibe. And there are also like music for reading here, horror ambience, or there's one called music for reading horror stories or something, which just has lots of spooky music. So that's a nice place to get started with finding some list. I also love the deluxe timer. Just show you the beginning.
T-minus 60 minutes.
Is the sound on?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, okay. Well, it just keeps you on edge so much if you have this because the constant ticking, and then every 5 minutes it will say T minus 55 minutes, and it really stresses the students out, which is quite good if you want them to be kind of excited and really finish the task in time. And obviously, if you don't have 60 minutes, just start it from whatever time you have. So you just scroll it forwards and start from there. So that's a good thing. And really good if you type in ambience into YouTube. So this one, for example, is just a carriage ride in the woods. So it just gives you some nice carriage noises, so to speak. But you can also find ambience for a cafe and ambience for a fireside and so on. So really nice to create the mood. And with those YouTube videos, you can also add them to your presentation. So you can embed them, and you can even use them as a background here, which I think is a really cool idea. And I love doing that in my escape rooms. So you kind of have an animated background here. Unfortunately, if you do that, the sound doesn't work anymore. So because you need to set it on to autoplay, because you don't want the players to see the controls, like the start button and so on. And then it automatically mutes it, which is a bit of a pity. But at least you get this nice background, for example, for the title here, or you could have it at the end and so on. So that's kind of a good idea. And a little extra tip to avoid that the players click onto the background and stop the video by mistake. You can just put an interactive area over it, which doesn't really take you anywhere, but it just, stops the players from stopping the video, basically. Okay, and then Sandbox Education have just brought out this extension, which is very cool, the Chan one, which allows you to add a song that plays over several slides. I mean, I know you can do that in Genially itself as well by adding a sound as the background sound, but this gives you a bit more control. So for example, the players can actually choose their own song. So I just choose this one here. And even if I go to the next slide, it will still carry on playing, as you can see. So that's quite nice. I can stop it, I can skip forward and so on. So it's really like a music player, which is very cool. But for that, you need to have the songs saved, I think, as an MP3 or MP4. So if you check out that link and that extension, then you can find out how to do it. You might not realize that Pixabay, normally they are known for having free photos, but they also have got a section for free music. So if you type in there scary music, for example, you find lots of different tracks that you can download. They might not, some of them are quite short, just a few minutes long, but they are definitely cool as a little background effect. Okay, another way of creating immersion is by faking it. So there's so many different online generators where you can create anything, really. Newspapers, concert tickets, text messages, and so on. It's quite scary, actually, how easy it is to fake your receipts and your plane tickets. But obviously, we're only doing it for a good thing. And this is something, I mean, you could either have a screenshot of it on your Genially presentation, but if you're doing a mixed escape room, then that's a really cool thing to just have lying around in your classroom, maybe, or having a fake wanted poster on your wall. And maybe even put it there a few days before you do the escape room. So the players or the students already come in and they're like, oh, what is this? Why is there this weird poster and so on? And they start asking and they kind of start looking forward to solving that mystery. So that's a nice little trick as well. So here's an example where I've used lots of fake things and they can move them around as well. So this is from the UFO themed one. So if they click on it, they can see it a bit bigger. So we've got a fake wanted poster. We've got a fake plane ticket here, including some fake FBI well, the newspaper is actually real. I just changed the date. Then there's a fake concert ticket and a fake tweet. And you can even fake like the Twitter handle and everything to really fit it into your theme. Okay, now I'm coming to structure. Are there any questions first?
Hi, Julia. One question about the fake documents. Does it only work in English, or do you know any other website to do in other languages?
Well, I know that at least with the fake plane tickets, I have done it in French as well, because you can choose from a list of airlines, and they had like, yeah, different countries there. And obviously the fake concert ticket and the fake Twitter handle, you just write it in whichever language you want, really. So yeah. Yeah, I mean, this one here, for example, it has English and French on it at least. So you could just, yeah, have your own information. And the concert ticket, well, I mean, I've just filled all the information in German. So you don't really notice which language it is, I would say, because you can adapt it so much, really, that it doesn't matter so much, I would say. Okay, then I come kind of to the main part now. Sorry, I've already said so much. I hope people are still awake. I'm sorry, I have to speak quite fast, but there's so much I want to show. Okay, then, so setting up the structure. So this is kind of the main part. How do I actually make my escape room? And I want to show 3 different things on how to do it. So first of all, they're the Genially templates. So they are a really nice starting point for people who haven't done any online escape rooms. You can just go to create a presentation, then you go to gamification, and you've got lots and lots of templates. It's loading a little bit. So you've got lots of different quizzes, and then when you go to the bottom, you've got lots of templates. So I've got quite a lot because I've got a paid for account. But even if you go to, let's do free only, you get a few at least. So you get a school one, an adventure one, a spy one, a mystery one, and you can adapt them quite a lot. So I think with those here, you can already do quite a lot to get started. I mean, most of the games that are in the Genially mystery, they're all tasks and not really puzzles, and most of them are multiple choice. So I would mix them up a bit and use some of the escape extensions and some of the sandbox extensions to just add a bit more variety, I would say. But I give you a really nice layout already. They have the animation in, some of them have the music in already, so it's a nice place to get started. Good, then Sandbox Education has just brought out the breakout template. So I quickly show you the empty one, I think. But I've got a video for it. So I'm not going to go through it step by step exactly how to make it, because you can have a look at the video, and it's actually quite straightforward. So you can see here their template is kind of empty, so the background and so on is empty, and then you can add your own design to it. And I know that since they brought it out, maybe when was it, like a week ago or 2 weeks ago, so many people have already used it on our Facebook group, and Marie especially is the expert. She's already made lots of them just using this template, and I'll show one of her cool games in a minute. So the nice thing with this template is three things, I would say. The players can do the tasks in any order, so they can start on task 3 if they want to. Secondly, they get this progress bar here at the top, so they can see how much they've already solved. And they also have their rewards page where they can collect items, and they can also collect random numbers. And this template generates a random number each time. So each player will have a different code that they are collecting to get the final reward. which kind of means they can't cheat by copying off each other. I mean, it stops them teamworking a little bit. So maybe if you want to do teamwork, then make sure they're on the same device, because otherwise they get different answers. And then they have to put in that code into the lock to get to the last bit. Okay, so as you can see here, the template is just all empty, and you put in your own thing. It generates the random code. What you need to do is, if you follow this link and then go down here to reuse this Genially, let's quickly show you what it looks like in edit mode. Yeah, you can add your own story to it and your own background. And it's working. There we go. And the important bit really are these codes. Where do I have them? Here you go. So challenge, add the challenge. So the important bit are these boxes here. So you've got these green boxes, which you need to have always at the end of each challenge. So the players should not be able to get to this before they've solved task 1, because this green box here tells the game that task 1 has been achieved, which then means on the overview map, if I go back to this one here, it has this blue box, which also has a number 1 on it. I know it's hard to see because it's hidden away, but behind something else. So as soon as the green box number 1 has been achieved, then the blue box number 1 gets turned on, which means in this case here, the tick gets turned on task 1 and then task 2 and so on. And when all the tasks have been achieved, so when they've collected all the rewards and all the numbers, then this stop sign here gets turned off so they can get to the final reward. So you can see again here, we've got those blue reward boxes. So it says reward in Spanish on there. So as soon as they get the green box number 1, then blue box number 1 will be turned on. So they get a fish, and they also get the first number here. So I think in this case, it won't show any because I haven't solved any tasks. I don't know, it doesn't quite work here. So if you solve the task, it should work. And then, yeah, they can only get there if they solved it. And so at the end of the presentation, you can find all the templates and the instructions how to do it. Okay, so if I show you here a cool one that Marie has made, can see what it actually looks like in action. So here we've got little Marie as a cook, and you have to collect all the things to make some pancakes. So you can see your items. So this is basically the map. So you can see she's used the template here as our progress bar. And then this is our reward page where we can see what we've collected. We haven't collected anything yet. So if you go, let's go to the flower. So here's a nice game made with D&D, which I'll show again later. And you have to match up the French words here. And if I get it all right, then I'm allowed to go to the next page. In this case, I've put on the arrows here so I don't have to do all these tasks. I might embarrass myself with my bad French. No, I did manage to solve this earlier, but it's a bit quicker. So in this case, I got number 1 and I got the flour. So I can now go back to the kitchen, and now I've got my flour and my number 1 and so on. And then if I solve all the tasks, then I get to the next bit. So I'll just show you what task she's done because I think it's quite nice. So in this case, you need to use your grammar knowledge to choose the right gender here to get the eggs. Then I really love this one. You have to fill in the shopping list. So this is also using an extension. Oh, I can never pronounce it. How do you pronounce it?
Bonchois.
Yeah, that one. So you can choose a picture here and you need to match it up with your shopping list. Then you get the butter. Then this one, she's added a sound. So if you've got a pro account, you can record your voice straight onto Genially. But I think if you don't have a pro account, you can record it somewhere else and then upload it on there if it's saved as an MP3. And then this is using the Couise extension where you actually need to write in. So I don't know, whatever the numbers are, you need to fill it in. And then when you check, oh dear, I got it wrong. I got an evil stare from Marie. But if I got it right, then I would get my milk and number 1. So now I think I've got all my bits. Yeah, so I've got the 4 numbers, I've got the 4 ingredients. So now I can go to ready to cook. So this has been unlocked. Now I've got my oven. And with this extension, it's great because you can give the students a reminder. So it actually tells me which numbers I've done. I mean, it's a bit less immersive because the students don't even need to write down the numbers. So I think it might be even nicer not to give them this. So just they feel a bit more, I don't know, the satisfaction that they've collected the numbers, because this makes it very easy because it just tells them that I need to put in these numbers and then they can go to the last bit and they can cook their nice pancakes here. And this is a nice idea. So this is, oh, it's showing it when you go over it. So this is using a GIF there to make that cooking kind of animation, which is quite cool. And the pictures here, I guess Marie is made with Bitmoji. So if you haven't got Bitmoji yet, then you need to sign up to it to make pictures of yourself. And follow your students in their escape rooms. Okay, so I'm not going to go step by step through the breakout template because I think I'd rather show the Takit extension, if that's okay. Were there any questions about these bits for now? Before I go on to Takit?
Yes, Julia, there was one question, but it's not really related to this. Can we do escape room using 360 pictures? I think there's escape extension, but I couldn't remember what it was called.
Yes, there is one. I mean, later on in this presentation, I've got a link on how to add Google 360-degree pictures to your Genially. So you can embed a Google Street View into it. I mean, it won't, you can't embed a puzzle within the picture, if you know what I mean, but you could ask questions about the picture. There is escape extension, but for that you need to have a 360-degree picture. Yeah, and I don't think I've translated it yet, so you might need to look on the Escape website, which is linked in the beginning of this presentation. Okay, so now I want to show Takit.
Excuse me, what is the name of this extension of the 3060 pictures?
I can't remember.
I will search it up.
Yeah, I can't remember, sorry.
Thanks.
Okay, so let's have a look at Takit, because I think this is the best one to use to make an escape room. Because as the name says, you can take things from one slide to another, which means you can really have the students or the players explore different kind of rooms or locations, pick up items and then use those items on other pages. So they can collect a key, for example, to use somewhere else. They can even switch on things. So I stop talking and just show you. Okay, so in this case, we've got a light switch here. So I turn the light on. And the cool thing is, if I turn it on, I go to the next page, it's still on here. So if I turn it off, you can see it's also off on the next slide. So it remembers it, and it even remembers it in a different presentation. So if I go into this presentation here, again, I've got a light bulb, it's off. I go back here, turn it on, and now I'll go back to this presentation. I need to refresh it to take effect, but here it's now turned on, which is very cool. But this will only work if it's the same computer and the same browser. So it won't work if the teacher does it on their computer. It won't affect the student's computer, for example. But it will remember it even over several days. So if they turn their computer off and I turn it back on again, it will still remember if they turned it on or off. Okay, so this is the easy one. We're turning on the light. Now I'll show you to make it more escape roomy. Okay, so here's kind of a little fantasy themed one. So I have to collect this bottle, and you can see it disappears there and it appears down here in my inventory. I can take the eye as well. Now I've got it in my inventory. Over here, as you can see, I've got the eye and the bottle. I can also collect the frog. And if I go back to the table here, you can see I've still got all these items in my pocket, in my inventory. And then I get to my cauldron and I can now drag all these items in there to make my brew. There we go. And now they disappear and my green potion has appeared. Okay, so this is very much like a real escape room, I would say, that you collect things, you search for them. I mean, they could be hidden in the page. Mine were pretty obvious, but you could hide them behind other things as well. So they have to find them. Or obviously you can put a puzzle before it. So they have to solve some kind of task or puzzle before they get to the page with the table where they can collect these items. Okay, so I think that is these are the examples. So for Takit, I want to show how to make it. I do have a video for it as well, but I think this is really the escape room extension. So I'm going to walk through it if that's okay. But if I know it's already an hour now, so if you need to go, you need to make your dinner or something, then don't worry, and you can catch up with the video later if you want to. Okay, so I've already prepared my little game here, which has several rooms, so to speak, or several locations and several items that I need to collect, and then I'll show you how to do it with the Takit extension. So I'm using one of the Genially templates here. So that's the kids escape room, so to speak. And I haven't added any real tasks here, but just tasks where you need to collect things. Okay, so here's my main page really. So I've got, this is my map, so to speak, where I've got 3 locations and I've got the 2 items that I want to collect. So let's say you want to make your escape room and you start either with one of the templates or with your own empty one or with one that someone else has made. The first thing you need to do is download the Takit template, and then if you go to add pages and then to my creations, it should come up in your list. Sorry, a bit slow to load now. If you can't find it straight away, you can search for it up here. Okay, so I'm using this version, and what you always want to find in the templates are the blue slides. So the blue are the templates, and in this case I want to use these ones because they're the ones for picking up items. So I add them to my presentation. Now I've added in down there. Never mind. And then I can now just walk through them step by step. So I need a title page. On my title page, I need one of these boxes. So whenever you're using escape extensions, they normally have one of these function boxes. They are the code. So you need to have them on your slide. If you don't have them on your slide, if you forget to put them on, one of 2 things will happen, which tell you that you forgot. Either your page will be completely empty, so just white, not even the pictures will appear, or you will be able to see some of the elements which you aren't meant to see, which normally should be invisible. So if that happens, you probably forgot the function. So for Takit, there are 2 different ones. So we've got the yellow one, which is if you just want the game to remember for the 1 session, or the orange one if you want it to work even after you shut down your computer, you start it again, will it remember? So this probably, I assume, puts it into your browser cookies. Yeah, so it will only remember it on that browser. So let's go with this one. So we need to put this on our page. Put it somewhere on the page. It will be invisible because if I go into preview mode here, you can see, well, you see, you don't see. Yeah, which is good. And we also need this black box, which resets the variable. So we probably want to put it either on the title or in the introduction. It's better really to have it on the introduction page, which hopefully the players will skip when they play it again, because we don't want them to reset their progress if they need to continue. So, and in this case, we have got two items that we want to collect, namely a key and a nut. So we need two of these black boxes. Do two, and they are grouped with a little text called variable, but instead we want to rename them. So make sure that you think carefully what your objects will be called and always spell it the same way. So in my case, they're just called key, and the other one is called nut. So I need to remember that I've spelled it with lower lower letters and so on. Don't group any of these boxes with text. So the Takit extension, you can't group it with text because it is already grouped with a text that says the name of the variable. So if you then group it with another text, it would get it confused because it doesn't know, is this one talking about the key or is this talking about whatever your text says? So if you wanted to work with the text, you would need to take a screenshot of your text and kind of turn it into a picture that way. Okay, so this resets it. Then really what you're doing is you have one of these green buttons here, these dark or filled in green buttons. They are the on off switch. So when you click on this, it turns the variable on all your slides and in all your presentations. So this is your on button, and it will turn on anything that's grouped with one of these light green boxes or see-through green boxes if it has the same name. And it will turn off everything that's grouped with these red boxes, which kind of makes sense because this one says off and the other one says on. So as soon as we pick up the item, we want this to be turned on everywhere. So again, we need two of them. So just copy and paste them to double them, to duplicate them, and we need a key. Oops, and I need to make sure I spell it right, otherwise it won't work. A key and a nut. And now I just need to put them on top and group them with each of the item. I could resize them, but for that I need to ungroup the text and then I need to remember to group it again. So I'll just take it for now. So group. A nice little shortcut for grouping things is if you hold down Control and G, then it groups the items. So you can see here, group. These are grouped now. Okay, and now I want to put them in the inventory. And I would recommend that at the beginning of your game, when you start making it, collect all the items that you want to be collected in the whole game. So you might have, I don't know, 5 items or whatever, and put them all in the inventory at the beginning, and then copy and paste them onto all slides, because this way your inventory will look the same on every slide. Because otherwise, if you move them around, it will look really weird if you go from slide to slide, and sometimes the key is on the left, sometimes the key is on the right, or it jumps up and down and so on. So it's better if they all, they're all exactly in the same position to kind of make it look more like in a computer game where you have an inventory. Okay, so we've got all these. Now we need to decide where or how to turn them on. And actually, I forgot the orange box, which is rather vital, as I said earlier. So let's put them on as well, because without this, nothing works. There you go. Oops, now I've got 2. Okay, so these are all my slides. Sorry. And they will be invisible. Okay, now we can move on to the next template, which is the green one. So this is on the page where you want to pick up the item. So let's go to our nut. So the nut we find in this tree. And here I've got a little nut. So what I want to happen is, if the player clicks on the nut there disappears and this nut over here appears. So it looks as if I'm taking it from there into my inventory. And at the same time, it will appear in the inventory on all the pages. So what I want to do is, well, first I need to rename this again. So this code oops, this code knows that this is going to apply to the nut variable. So I need to do the same over here. And this off item, I need to group with the thing that I want to disappear. So I group it with this. Yeah. And the green thing here, as I said, is our button. So when you click on it, it will turn this one off and this one on. So we want to put this on top of the nut. So make sure that's in the top layer. Don't group it. It doesn't need to be grouped. It just needs to be on top. So the player doesn't really know this box is there because they will be invisible. So let's see if this works now. Done it all right. Okay, so our inventory is empty. I click over here. This nut disappears. This nut appears. Yes. And if I go on any other slide, you can see it has appeared on all my slides. But somewhere I've gotten something. Oh yeah, this was the template. That's why it looked empty. Good. And now let's go to the page where I want to use the item. So on that page where I'm giving the nut to the squirrel to make it go to sleep, I need this item here, which is from the Takit extension. I need to call this nut again. But I'm also using the D&D extension, which are these pink boxes here. And on the next slide, you can see there are lots of different colors. If you use several items on the same slide, each item will need a different color. So it knows which one goes with which. But because on my slide with a nut, I'm only going to use the nut because the key is used on a different slide. I just need the one. So I need to copy all of these boxes here. Oops, why did I not copy it? Get rid of it. Yeah. There you go. No, doesn't want to do it. Okay, and I also need this yellow box. Oh, I think I'm holding down the wrong key. That's why. Sorry. Concentrating on other things. Good. So I need another code box down here. So this is the code for the D&D to work. So don't forget that one. So let's go to our squirrel. Sorry. Here we go. And I insert it in here. Good. So what we want is, first of all, we've got an object, which is this one. So object 1. And so our object in this case is the nut. So I group my nut together with that green box and that object 1. Then I need a target. So here Siebe is French for target. And my target is the squirrel that's awake. So this is where I want the nut to go. So I group them together. Yes. Go on. And then I've got an on and an off box. Well, I've got 2 on and 1 off. Namely, what I want to go off is the awake squirrel, because I want this to disappear once I give it a nut. So I'll group this as well. And I want the sleeping squirrel to appear. So this one needs to have an on button, which means nut hits squirrel, then this one disappears and the sleepy one appears. But at the same time, I also want the nut to disappear from my inventory because obviously I fed the squirrel, so it's not there anymore. And also I could group it with this U1 message. So let's make another on one. Okay, so I also want this message to appear. And then we've got this black box here, and that says if off variable, which means as soon as this black box appears on the slide, even if it's not clicked or anything, it will reset this variable to off. So I want this to appear at the same time as I feed the squirrel. Why did I take a squirrel? I can't say the word squirrel. It's such a hard word in English. But at least we have an international audience, so I hope lots of you can feel with me for this hard word. Okay, so what this does, if this appears, then the nut will get set to off and it will disappear from my inventory everywhere, at least if this goes all right. So let's try this out. Let's see if it's remembered that I've got the nut. Yes. Okay, but actually what I forgot to do is I need to make sure that I can move this nut around. So I need to go on here and turn on the drag element. There you go. Okay, so now I can drag this nut around and I can give it to a squirrel. And this squirrel disappeared and this squirrel appeared. And also the U1 appeared, which is good. And you can see also the nut has disappeared. And actually from all the pages, and it has been reset to be back in the tree. So I could go back and collect it again if I want to, and then go back and do the whole thing again. Okay. Good. So I could do exactly the same thing with the key. I think I'll skip that now. So I would group things with the key that I can find there. And then here I've got two pictures of the same door. I use the website freepick.com. I think Marie used it as well for her little game that I showed earlier with the cooking activity. So Freepik is a really good website. So spelled FREEPIK. And it has lots and lots of free pictures, as the name says, or you can get a pro account as well. If you use the free ones, you have to put an attribution, so you have to put a link to the artist. But I've got a pro account, so technically I don't need to do that. But I recommend going to their website and then you can get lots of pictures. If you really want to be serious about escape rooms, I also recommend getting Adobe Illustrator, which is quite expensive, but it allows you to do a lot more things. So it's it allows you to change, for example, the colors of these vector graphics, or you could take out the handle if you wanted to, or change the color of the glass and so on. So it gives you a lot of control over them. But in this case, this one is just one of the free ones. So we've got an open door, closed door. So I could group this, that this door appears, this door disappears. And then if I put them on top of each other, it looks as if the door opens. Also a good trick is if you go up here to transparency, make it a little bit transparent, and then it really helps you to line them up exactly. So I can see that they're exactly on top of each other. And then I turn the transparency back up again. And now I know it will look good when I put the key on the door, it looks as if this one is opening. And the good thing is you can then also add links to it. So for example, I could put a link on this open door, which then takes me, I don't know, to the treasure room or something. So only when this open door has appeared, can I click on the link and go to the final reward, for example. Okay, good. Are there any questions about Takit? Questions?
Doesn't seem like there are some questions, but it's amazing. Julie, I have to say, it's amazing. Like people are like, well, me as well. We're just like amazed by all the examples you're showing.
Well, I mean, I haven't made any of this. I'm not just showing how to make it. Yeah, I mean, the Escape team and the Sandbox team, I mean, they're the geniuses really who have come up with all these codes, and also they're very generous at like sharing them with everyone. So. And actually, the Escape website is a really great place to look for other things as well. So they have lots of other kind of templates and things you can print out or embed into your page, which are not necessary for Genially. So lots of kind of wheels to crack codes and so on. So really have a look there. And I mean, it's all in French, but nowadays, I mean, me as a language teacher, it hurts to say, but it's actually quite easy to use the built-in translator in your website. So if you just go to the top, normally if you're on a foreign language website, it will show a little translate button there and you can just easily translate it. And I mean, it's not a perfect translation, but it's enough for you to find your way around the page, I think, and work out how to use the different extensions and games that they offer. So yeah, definitely recommend that as a starting point for lots of ideas. Okay, good. Then how are we doing? Shall I carry on a little bit, or I don't know, there don't seem to be so many questions yet.
How is everyone doing? You're still motivating to go on? I mean, I would love to hear more. I'm just like amazed by your yes. We see a lot of yes
okay.
in the comments.
I go on a bit.
Perfect.
Okay, so then some puzzle ideas, even though by my own definition, most of them are more task ideas, to be honest. But here's some ideas that you can use. So there are two extensions which I think really everybody needs to know who uses Genially. I mean, the two Scape extensions, and they are D&D, which stands for drag and drop, and Couise, which allows you to write things into a question box. So I'm just quickly showing some examples of D&D. D&D is the one that we just used for the squirrel as well. So it's the one that works with these little colorful boxes that say target and object. And if you put the two together or drag the items to the right place, then something else will appear or disappear. So I've already kind of showed how to use it. So here's a really easy example. Yeah, so kind of a teacher example where you just match up the pictures with the flowers and then my tick appears. Here is one from my fairy tale templates. In this case, you have to bring things in the right order. So you have to work out that it spells out fish. And then if I put this in here, so in this case, it's already given me the feedback that the troll is running away. So I can now go to the next page. You can have a check button here. For some reason it didn't work. But normally if you have the check button, the feedback only comes after you click check. And also if you do something wrong, let's try that out. So if you do it wrong, it resets the ones that you've done wrong, and it gives you this temporary feedback here as well. So it's saying wrong here. But you can, there are lots of different options. So you can have it with feedback, without feedback, with correction, without correction, and so on. So lots of different ways of using this extension. And here's a really fun one. I saw this somewhere, but I couldn't find the original. I think it was on the Sandbox education website where you have to feed little monsters. So I've made my own version, which is feed the dogs. So I've got these three little bones here. And oh no, I've covered up the speech bubbles by mistake. Mistake. Okay, the dogs had speech bubbles, and the first one said, I like trees, so I have to give them this. The second one says, I like flowers, so you have to give them this. And the third one says, I like broccoli. I like vegetables, and then you have to give them this. So if, well, now I already got the feedback, but if I do it wrong, let's see if the feedback disappears again. So if I do it wrong, nothing should happen in this case. So you only get the feedback when you've got the right order here. There you go. But I think that's quite cute, feeding the dogs. And obviously you can have any theme you want. I mean, I've got one game where you have to put flowers in the right bucket, and the buckets are labeled with the theme, and each of the flowers has like a sentence next to it, and they need to match the sentence to the theme of the film they have to watch. Okay, then Couise. As I say, it allows you to have a question box. So in this case, you can use it as a password check. So here's our password, username and password. And if I click check, something will appear. So in this case, the website appears. And also over here, the gray box has disappeared, which now allows me to click the button to get to the next page. Do I have another example? Yeah, here's another example where I'm using it with Google Maps. As I said earlier, when someone asked about 360-degree pictures, so it's really cool that you can actually embed Google Street View from anywhere in the world, and you can even walk around in it. So I can actually use the Google Street View. So in this case here, they have to do kind of a treasure hunt, so to speak. So you have to walk around in Madrid and find how many lines there are. So I have to walk all around the statue here to really check out if there are any more lines hidden away somewhere. And then they put in the answer there, check, and if they get it right, then they get to go to the next page. And for this one, I want to show how to do it. Sorry, I think this is the right one. Sorry, a bit slow. All right, here we go. Okay, so so the trick with Couise is, so again, you need to have the template. So you need to download these question boxes. Oops, the question boxes and the check button. And the thing with Couise is that the code is in the check button. So let's go to this one, maybe that works better. See, so if I click on here and I go to the interaction icon, it looks like it's empty. But then if I go to the code view here, you can see that is where the secret is. And in this case, it's the French version, but in the template, you should get the English version, which makes it easier. Let's go back to this one then. So here. Because it will tell you exactly what everything means. So here, enter the correct answers. So in this case, we've got escape and 1, 2, 3. If I want to allow alternative spellings, I can do that as well. So I can put down a vertical line and then have different spellings of it. So it would accept it now with an apostrophe and without. Or for the numbers, for example, if you think the players might write the numbers as words, you could use that as an alternative. And then you can see there are lots of different options here. So if the order of the answers is important, yes or no, if uppercase is important, if spaces at the end are important, and so on. Quite useful is that you can view arrows, which means, so if I put in the wrong thing, let's say I've got the right one here, but the wrong one there. You can see it shows me where my mistake is. So I've got the green one there and the red one there, so it helps a bit. You can also show the attempts, and you can even lock it. So if you want to be really mean, you can say that after 3 attempts, you're locked out forever. But maybe for an escape room, you might want to be a bit more generous. So yeah, this is a really good one. And you might have noticed that when I went into preview here, it showed Q1 and Q2. Don't worry about it when you're making it. It always appears in preview, but once you go into actual presentation mode, the box will just be empty. And on the actual template, there's an extra page where you can also modify the question box. So you can change the font size, the font color, the background color, and everything of these boxes. So you can really make them fit into your theme that you have, which is quite cool. Okay, so if you want to know how to embed a Google Street View, then follow this link down here. So I've got another presentation which shows you where you get that picture from and how to embed it. And I think that is really one of the main things that make Genially better than PowerPoint, for example, namely that you can embed other things in it, like Google Maps and learning apps as well. So which in PowerPoint, yes, you can put in a YouTube video, but you can't put in much else, I think. And only today or yesterday, someone posted on our group, which is very cool, that you can actually change the background. So for those of you who already know learning apps, you can now even change the background color and the card color here, which is very, very cool, because then you can make it really look transparent. I mean, in my case, it didn't quite work because my background is 2 colors, but you can see I've managed to pick out the right color, at least for the top corner there, and the blue is the same color as this one here. So on learning apps, if you don't know it, it's a free website. You can make lots of different activities like card match, match up the words, crossword puzzles, and yeah, loads of different ones. And the great thing is you can also match a word to a sound, you can match a picture to a sound or a picture to word, and it does all the sounds with automatic text to speech. So it's really easy to generate a load of different activities, and then you can embed them into your learning app. And if you use LA-VAR, which is escape extension, it works with learning apps, so that, for example, if I get this puzzle right, so I do A and B and B, yay. I can listen to the feedback here.
Great, you found the right solution.
And then you can see that this arrow here has appeared. So again, if you want to have this as part of an escape room, it means that the player has to solve these tasks before they can get to the next page, where they then get into the next room, or they get the code number, or they get the key, or whatever. So that's very cool. Here are these codes that you can add into Learning app to change the background color, the size, to have the feedback as spoken, as instead of just written feedback. So it's quite cool. And so thank you to Jenny, who posted this. And I think she got it from the Learning apps team themselves. But they were saying use at your own risk, because if they do an update, it might not necessarily work anymore. So you need to be a bit careful. It's not official. The changing the color is not official part of the game, so to speak. And another really good extension that you should know if you're doing escape room is Lokivar. So Lokivar is escape extension, which works with a website called Loki, which is another French website, which allows you to embed lots and lots of different locks. For some reason, it's already opened my lock. Let's go back here. So this is my reset page. So hopefully, if I reset it, it will work again. Go back here. Yeah, here we go. Now my lock is reset. Here is one of the fake things that I mentioned earlier. So here's a fake text message, which is just telling me the code is 1, 2, 3. Here's my lock, so I can go 1, 2, 3. I click OK. Then it's showing me the next button there. Normally, it would show you a preview of another page of your presentation, but because that looks a bit weird, I kind of put a screenshot on top of it, so it hides the original lock once I've opened this lock. But yeah, check out the links up here. So check out Loki. Actually, I might show. I had this open somewhere. Here we go. So the great thing about Loki is it's locked. Loki has locked me out. The cool thing about Loki is that it allows you to make loads of different locks, as you can see here. So you can even have a musical one, which is really fun. So you have to play a certain melody to open a lock, or you can have a directional one where you have to click up, sideways. You can have colors and so on. So you can have a lot of fun with this. You have to switch certain things on. So you can have this, for example, at the end of your escape room, after the players have collected all the code or the musical notes or whatever they have to play, and then they have to put it into the final lock to get out, which is very cool. And as I said at the beginning, I think it's nice having a different types of locks in your game, and not just always have a number lock, but also have one, I don't know, with colors or directions and so on. Because in a real escape room, they're often like that as well. And also, again, you can make this more into a puzzle as opposed to a task. If you've got several locks that are accessible from the beginning, but each one needs a different code. So one might need a 4-digit number, one needs a 5-letter word, one needs three colors, and then the players, as they go along, they will find those codes, and they need to remember, oh, now I've got a 5-digit number, that must go with that 5-digit lock. and so on. So they have to match it up, and it's just a bit more kind of satisfactory when you work that out yourself. Then, then if, sorry, I didn't mean to do the sound test. Yeah, it gives you more satisfaction if you work it out and then you put in the lock, the code into the lock, and the lock springs open. It just feels so much better if you've actually worked for it and had to puzzle it out, and not just, okay, answer these questions and then you win. Then that feels more like a test, really. While if you put things together, it feels more like a puzzle and a game, I would say. Okay, that is the end. Actually, timing not too bad. I said 1.5 hours, so kind of stuck to that.
Perfect, but
okay, are there any
packed
questions now?
Full of great information. I saw there was one question for the end. Let me.
Yeah, I've got it if you want. A question for the end. Yeah. What are the tricks you can use to force collaboration between students in a digital game? Do you give them different pieces of information that they have to share? Are there tools in Genially, like an action on one presentation that triggers something on another one? So how do you force collaboration between students?
Yeah, you can't really, I don't think there is an extension that works between computers, but obviously you could just make 2 different games, and game 1 has task 1 and 3, and the other game has task 2 and 4, and they then have to come together at the end to get the 4-digit lock, and then they have to put it in together. But I think in that case, they will probably just still do the task themselves. But I mean, there are lots of these kind of escape rooms in a box where, for example, one person gets the code and the other person gets the key to the code. So if you remember, I did this pig pen sci-fi a while ago with those boxes and dots in a box and so on. So if you give one person the answer and the other person the question, then obviously they have to work together. Or maybe something like a Morse code. So one person gets the instruction how to do Morse code, and the other one gets a piece of paper that says ... line ... and so on. And they have to talk to each other, describe what they can see, and so on. But with modern technology, it's very easy for them to just quickly take a screenshot and send it to each other. So it's not always easy, I would say, to make them work together, especially if they don't really want to. So if you're putting them into groups with people they don't like, it is hard outside the classroom, I would say. But I don't know, maybe someone else has a good idea for that. Anyone else got experience with remote learning? No. I mean, I tried to do it during remote learning, and I did a digital escape room with them, and I put them into teams, into like little breakout rooms where they had to share their screen and talk to each other. But I don't think they actually did it together. I think they just kind of pretended while I was there and then just disappeared and did their own thing, to be honest. So
I have a suggestion.
Yes.
So one thing that we've done in these sorts of games is have slightly different resources that students are looking at. So, but the students don't necessarily know they're looking at different resources. So they would get an individual link, they'd open up that link, they'd be looking at it, and they would have different views of like looking at different areas of a room. And only by talking to each other did they find out that they didn't have the same thing. But it wasn't, it was like that puzzle versus task thing. So the aha comes from realizing, oh, we've got different stuff. And then they have to figure out how to share between them. Yeah, that's a good idea. I mean, one thing I did, not necessarily for remote learning, but when I did a library induction game, because I had 5 teams doing the task at the same time, and I thought, well, A, they can just copy off each other, and B, they will all run into the same area of the library and then have a fist fight over that one book they need to find. So I wanted to avoid that, and so I made the same game, but changed the order of tasks. So each team had to do
task, well, team 1 had task A first, team 2 had task B first, and then 1 later, and so on. So they had to do it in different order, so they couldn't just easily follow each other around, basically. But I was more the opposite of teamwork, I guess. It was to stop them from copying. Yeah. But I mean, there are some fun games you can do where people have to describe what a code looks like. I mean, if you do something like a pig pen cipher, having to describe these letters would actually be quite difficult and quite a good communication task, I guess, that they have to say, oh, this looks like a square, but the bottom is missing, and this one looks like a square on the side, but with a dot in it, and so on. But again, if you don't have, if the students are not motivated to do that, then it's quite hard as a teacher, I think, to check on them, because you can't really check on all your groups at the same time if they're online. So in a classroom, it's easier, but online they can just screenshot it and exchange it, or they can just send each other the link to their game if they don't want to play. So yeah, especially if there's a prize for the fastest team, I think then it often encourages them even more to kind of cheat and do shortcuts, I would say. So careful with the prizes. Yeah. Okay, are there any other questions?
Julia, there was a question, but I wasn't sure how to answer this question. When working with silhouettes under magnifying glass, how can you make sure the colors have the same code? And that was from Claudia, and she said when she finds silhouettes on the internet, they don't always have the same color. But I didn't really understand the question.
The same color as the background,
because it's in one of the templates, I think. I'll try to find the explanation again. Sorry.
Okay. Well, for getting colors off a screen, if I can just share a tip, there is an extension you can get for Chrome, and you can then also get it in Microsoft Edge. So I hope you can see it up here. I've just got it in my taskbar. I've got this little color picker. I think the extension is just called color picker. So if you go into the Chrome store or Chrome browser extension store and look for color picker, then you get this cool thing. And then if I turn it on and then just point anywhere on my screen, so let's say here, then it gives me the hex code for that area. So up here I can see it's this blue, and it gives me the number, but it disappears quite quickly. But it has put it on my clipboard now. So if I now go into Genially and want to color something in, let's say I just put in this. Let's say I want this the same color as this corner down here. So I go to the color picker, point it at my screen, it's copied it, and now I can go into the color here. And down here, this number is the hex code for the color. So I can just paste it in, and you see it's done exactly that blue. So if I put it in this corner, it will just disappear. So that's a nice way of making sure that your background and your activities kind of blend into each other. So for example, for the learning apps, if you want it to look as if the background is, as if it's see-through, then you can just, color pick the background and then use that. So if I do this here,
Perfect. That's answering your question. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think if you've got little pictures where you can change the color, then that's the way of making sure that they blend in. So if I want to hide this here, then use the color picker to get the right color. There you go. Now it's kind of hidden. It's not quite the right color, but nearly. Okay. There are also escape extensions of making things appear and disappear if you just go over them with your mouse, which is quite good. And actually, you can also do that with Genially animations. So if you go to the hover mouse animation here, there are a few things that you can do, like change the color. So that's one way of hiding things. Well, in this case, it's the other way around. So it goes from gray to the color. But yeah, with Escape extension, you can do it as well. Okay. Good. Any other ones?
There wasn't any other question.
No. Okay, good. Well, I mean, as you know, Marie and I and some other people, some other experts are in the Facebook group. So join this group, Teaching with Genially, or you can find us on Twitter as well, and you can ask us lots of questions. Yeah, and read my book and read Scott Nicholson's book as well, which is way more. It goes more deeply into the topic, I would say. Mine is more a practical one, but his goes really into the theory of escape rooms as well. So I definitely recommend that as well. Okay.
Amazing. Amazing, Julia. Thanks a lot. I think in the name of everyone, thanks a lot. It was amazing. It was like mind blowing. This great ideas and all the great examples you showed. So thanks a lot. I would say if no one else has questions, we will send afterwards the email as promised with the links and with the recording, obviously. I will also add some other videos from Julia from her YouTube channel, so you can watch around and see some other tips and tricks with Escape and other topics. I would say that's it. Thanks a lot for everyone for joining, for participating so actively, and I would say we see each other next time in the next webinar.